There are people who are on their way to heaven, and yet they go crying. This saying is used when someone has everything but still insists on complaining. Our protagonist is practically the owner of a company, has divine collagen, and still insists on complaining. What can we do about it? Let's just get to know her spoilers. This drama begins in the shadows, where a couple is swept up in a night of passion. In those moments, they let their deepest impulses out. They kiss, they search for each other with their hands, and they ignite without restraint. At dawn, Gu Liuzu wakes up startled in unfamiliar sheets. Beside her, Lu Xiangchen gently asks if she slept well, and her silence leaves an air of discomfort. But a flashback reveals how they ended up sharing a bed. It turns out that the night before, both of them were at a nightclub, surrounded by pulsing lights and music. Xiangchen accidentally takes Liuzu's glasses, thinking they were his own, which sparks an awkward and tense argument. Back in the present, Liuzu tries to remember how she ended up with Xiangchen. She immediately thinks that he must be a male escort she paid for and considers herself a desperate lunatic for crossing this line. The judgment she passes on herself only increases her anxiety, and she wants to get out of that room as soon as possible. Xiangchen comments that she seems familiar to him as if they had met before, and Liuzu doesn't dwell on this possible connection. She insists that she's far too busy to even think about romance. She's the young founder of Gracie Fool Line, one of the wealthiest jewelry stores in the city. That day, she arrives late to the office because of her nighttime adventure, but she decides that nothing will get in the way of her business. Later on, Liuzu receives a call from her best friend Tang Baoshu. She hurriedly and shyly tells her everything that happened last night. Tang is surprised. She knows that Liuzu isn't the type to have flings and finds it strange that she had a one-night stand. The revelation shakes the image they both have of her and creates a crack in her self-control. Shortly after, everything gets complicated when Xiangchen shows up at a company event. Liuzu recognizes him instantly, grabs him by the arm and pulls him aside to talk in private, demanding that he leave, convinced that he is trying to blackmail her and ruin her reputation. During the argument, Liuzu finally listens to the man and manages to place him. It turns out he is the stepson of her friend Tang, leaving her shocked as she processes this unexpected connection. Urgently wanting to put an end to it, she drags him to the bathroom to make things clear. From now on, they go their separate ways and both pretend that their night together never happened. Another flashback shows us the true origin of it all. Xiangchen finds Liuzu drunk and asleep in the nightclub bathroom. He looks at her, hesitant, unsure, and waits for her to wake up. When she opens her eyes, he sees no other option but to pick her up and take her to his house. This gesture, which seemed simple, ended up complicating their lives completely. Back in the present, Xiangchen argues with his father, Lu Yanhua, because the man reproaches him for not having a stable job even though he's nearly 30. Tang, who overhears, suggests an immediate solution, sending him to work at her friend's company as the personal assistant to none other than Liu Zhu herself. So she asks Liu Zhu to give him at least a 2-month trial period. Although the idea disgusts Liu Zhu for obvious reasons, she agrees in order not to reveal the truth about the night with her stepson to Tang and ends up trapped by her own discretion. Thus, those friends with an intimate past become work partners. For Liu Zhu, it's a daily torment. She can't stand seeing Xiangchen, whom she considers a lazy opportunist. She warns him not to try anything romantic with her or with any other employee. The line between professional and personal sharpens like a razor. Despite the warning, Xiangchen allows himself an insolence. He asks if she's going through menopause because he finds her cold and bitter. This offense hangs heavy in the air. Liu Zhu isn't in menopause, but she carries another burden. In her session with the psychiatrist, she confesses that she suffers from nightmares and chronic work-related stress. Even with help, the shadows won't let her go. And to make matters worse, Xiangchen makes a mistake at the company that causes significant losses. In other words, everything's going wrong. Liu Zhu explodes in anger and because of this puts even more distance between them. He, feeling defeated, gets drunk at a bar and laments his mistake amid glasses and noise. An assistant of his wealthy father finds him and takes him back home while guilt haunts him. Meanwhile, our Liu Zhu upholds a commitment that defines her. She makes donations to an orphanage. In a conversation with a mother, it comes to light that she is adopted. That's why she feels she now has to give back what she received. Meanwhile, Xiangchen argues with his stepmother. He calls her a gold digger and claims she approached his father for his money. The family tension escalates uncontrollably. Later, the young man visits our protagonist at the orphanage, but he stumbles and conveniently falls on top of her, where, of course, they almost end up kissing on a slide in the playground. This closeness disarms them in seconds. And in that place is also Shi Yue, Xiangchen's friend, who contributes to charity. He watches without intervening amid donations and children's laughter. Xiangchen is fascinated by Liu Zhu's kindness. He used to imagine her as cold because she was a businesswoman. With this new image, he asks her for a second chance to make up for the serious mistake he made a few days ago. This request prompts her to open a door she never expected to open for him. And it doesn't stop there because Xiangchen sends her video after video, begging her to stop ignoring him and let him return to work. His persistence borders on obsessive. Liu Zhu's face burns. She can't deny that she feels attracted to him, even though she fights with all her strength to contain it. To her surprise, Xiang Chen shows up at a key meeting with the owner of a rival jewelry store. She tenses up completely and fears another misstep. But against all odds, he defends graceful line with firmness and precise arguments. His confidence and the outcome win Liu Zhu over, and she authorizes him to return to the company, opening a new chapter between them. That night, the two of them share a date away from the office. Liu Zhu apologizes and admits that she misjudged him, believing he was a spoiled child without ethics. As she gets to know him better, she recognizes his skill, potential, and states that she can trust him. At the company, others begin to suspect that there is something more between them, and the rumors in the hallways start to spread like wildfire. But for now, our couple travels to an island to meet with Mr. Jing, a diamond manufacturer. They are seeking an alliance for graceful line. Liu Su negotiates precisely and convinces him to split the profits equally for a new product. The deal is set in motion, but the pressure doesn't let up. After the meeting, she stays on the island, gazing at the seascape, where the warm wind lowers her defenses. Then, Liu Su tells a story from more than 10 years ago. She met a journalist and they became very close friends. That friend died while reporting in a war zone. The loss devastated her and led her to seek professional help. Nightmares still haunt her to this day, and the wound remains open. To help her feel better, Xing Chen guides her along the seashore and asks her to disconnect from work, even if just for a moment. She tries by riding a horse, letting the rhythm of the trot ease her anxiety. When she stops, she receives a passionate kiss from Xing Chen. Her heartbeat quickens, and something changes between them. This kiss leaves Liu Zhu excited, as she imagines their relationship will change from this moment on. He also feels like he's in paradise and wants to kiss her again. However, at the office, she chooses professionalism and treats him like any other employee. Their public distance forces them to measure every gesture. Even so, our leading man starts acting like a jealous boyfriend, because at a bar with other employees, a presentation shows attractive guys wearing little clothing. He immediately covers Liu Zhu's eyes, and she doesn't like it. The last thing she wants is for the team to suspect their romance. The tension is obvious to everyone. They both leave the bar, and Xing Chen moves in for another kiss, but she, feeling uncomfortable, runs away. The impulse lingers in the air, and the uncertainty keeps growing. Meanwhile, Mo Li, a friend of Liu Zhu, appears. He often visits the same orphanage to make donations. That day, he meets Liu Zhu's mother, who shows him a photo album from her daughter's childhood. Later on, Mo Li visits our protagonist at the office to talk about a charity event they're organizing together. From a distance, Xing Chen watches them and starts to feel jealous again. The scene pushes him to interrupt their conversation, making his presence known. That night, Liu Zhu meets with Mr. Jing and other investors as well. The goal is to secure unwavering support. But suddenly, one of the businessmen starts making sexist remarks, questioning how a company led by a woman can survive and insinuating that she needs a man to feel fulfilled. The atmosphere is shattered, and without thinking, Liu Zhu hits him with a glass. The man responds by throwing wine in her face. Seconds later, Xing Chen arrives and confronts the aggressor, knocking him down with a single punch. The room is left in complete shock. A few minutes later, the police arrive and the businessman accuses Liu Zhu of assault. But the officer listens and understands what happened. He lets her go with a warning and some forced apologies. After the bitter experience, Xing Chen accompanies our protagonist to her home. He notices that she is downcast and harshly realizes that being a woman in business means fighting against a persistent machismo. Her personal battle becomes his own challenge as well. After all that chaos, she invites him into her house. Next, they share a passionate kiss, which leads to an intense encounter on the living room sofa. The next morning, the atmosphere becomes tense and restrained because both sense that their relationship is no longer the same. The calm of the house contrasts with the unease that pushes them to decide what they will be from now on. Even so, our protagonist leans in and gives him a sweet kiss on the lips, making it clear that what happened last night didn't come from drunkenness, like the first time, but from a real affection she feels growing. Our girl assures him that she feels connected to him and doesn't want to hide it behind excuses. However, a problem arises. Tang, Liu Zhu's best friend, already senses that there is something romantic between them. The woman looks confused and hurt because her friend didn't tell her sooner, and the distance is evident in her gaze. Moments later, Tang calms down and accepts the news, thinking it's good that her stepson has a good woman in his life, even if that technically makes her the mother-in-law of her best friend. It's a little weird, but oh well. Acceptance comes, but it leaves an echo of discomfort. Then, Xing Chen corners Liu Zhu at work to give her another kiss, trying to confirm that they both feel the same way. An employee interrupts them, and the surprise makes Liu Zhu regain her composure. She realizes she shouldn't compromise professional ethics for a guy she likes, so she steps away. This pushes her to avoid her feelings and coldly tell him that they're just a couple who slept together and nothing more. Ouch! He stands still, hurt by all the distance she put between them. However, he's not willing to give up, so he decides to take action and show his love out in the open. So he shows up with a declaration in a public place carrying a bunch of balloons and the biggest teddy bear he could find. She agrees to be his girlfriend without thinking too much about it, realizing how much unhappiness she's been carrying and how much he brightens her life. After this, the girl meets with Molly to continue discussing the charity auction they're planning for the orphanage, an idea that excites and energizes her. But suddenly, Xingchen bursts in and asserts in front of Molly that he is now Liu Zhu's boyfriend and won't allow anything inappropriate. The professional moment becomes clouded, and jealousy starts to take hold. To understand this constant jealousy, a flashback takes us to his childhood. He watches his parents fight, and only his older brother protects him and takes him away from the noise. In the present, his father has married Tang and no longer argues with her, but he still treats his son harshly and sometimes even cruelly. That's why his relationship with Liu Zhu means so much to him. He wants it to be perfect and untouched by the shadow in which he grew up. The past guides every reaction the poor guy has in the present. The morning after another passionate night, the couple shows each other affection without reservation. Soon, the urgency of the day calls. Liu Zhu gets up quickly and focuses. She gets ready for the company's charity event with Molly's help, organizing tasks and schedules. Everything moves forward, but emotional tension accompanies every step. However, once again, our leading man lets jealousy take over and interrupts them, convinced that Molly wants her for more than just professional reasons. The confrontation becomes uncomfortable, and Lu Xue tries to calm him down. Shortly after, tired, she decides to play along. She tells him that he will never be more important than her work, despite the love they have for each other. He breaks down in tears, gets drunk, and laments losing the love of his life because of his pathological jealousy. His friend listens to him and suggests that he can still change. The night ends with an intention to make amends that hangs by a thread. That's exactly what he tries to do. The next day, he arrives at work with renewed energy, determined to win Liu Xue back, but she tells him that she no longer needs his services as an assistant because his contract was only for a couple of months. She also reveals to him that she was never in love with him. The blow leaves him defenseless, and the hopelessness he carried crumbles away. On the day of the charity event, Liu Xue steps onto the stage and prepares for an emotional speech. Suddenly, an image of her with Xingchen appears on the projection screen. Reporters rush toward her, surround her, and bombard her with questions about her private life. A few seconds later, Xingchen arrives and tries to help her. He tells the reporters that they have no relationship, although he does admit that he is in love with her. He then asks everyone to return their attention to the charity event, and the audience complies. The auction ends with a multi-million-dollar purchase of a diamond made of candy, and the news goes viral. The scandal dies down, but the media already has a story. As a result, Liu Xue feels she owes him one. Even so, she refuses to talk to him, upset by his obsessive jealousy and embarrassed for having been exposed, as it bothers her that the press is now speculating about their relationship. He replies that everything he does is to make her happy, but it's clear that she doesn't want anything more to do with him. Silence settles in like a wall, and he is left desolate in a bar, as always. With every drink, he tearfully remembers each moment he shared with Liu Xue and feels that everything is now in the past. When he leaves, he runs into her face to face. Without hesitation, he approaches and kisses her, trying to hold on to what still exists between them. He then explains that he made their relationship public because he wanted the world to know who he loves. His confession leaves open the possibility of getting back together. His sincerity reaches her, she is moved and gives in to his passionate kisses, as if remembering why she said yes to him. But when things start to get more intimate, she decides to leave. A boundary is set that neither of them knows how to interpret. After this, Xingchen returns to his father's house with a broken heart. Surprisingly, his father welcomes him with support and apologizes for not having been the best father. The apology, rare and somewhat belated, opens a space for healing, but the pain is still there somewhere. However, the story takes a tragic turn, because Mo Li plans the murder of Liu Xianhua and arranges for a partner to run him over while he's distracted. Okay, what a huge plot twist. The hit is precise and brutal. The motive comes to light later. It turns out that Xianhua is Mo Li's father, the result of an affair with his mother, and this man never raised him. Since then, Mo Li has harbored a desire for revenge against the one who abandoned him and only raised Xingchen. After the attack, Mo Li hits his own head with a rock to make it look like he was also injured. However, when they meet at the hospital, Xingchen suspects that he's hiding something about the supposed accident. Then, a doctor reports that Xianhua is in critical condition, but has miraculously survived. All they can do now is wait. The man's life is hanging by a thread. This incident brings the main couple closer together. Liu Xue is genuinely concerned about Xingchen's mental health amid all the tension. Unfortunately, the man succumbs to his internal injuries and dies in the hospital, leaving Xingchen devastated. At the funeral, Liu Xue shows up to offer her support. She lets him cry on her shoulder and hugs him. Their shared grief reconnects them in their vulnerability. But darkness returns once again. A man kidnaps our protagonist and takes her to a cold, isolated warehouse. The kidnapper is Mo Li, determined to exact his revenge on Xingchen by taking away the woman he loves. The The threat is made clear and time is running out, but in no time our hero shows up at the warehouse to rescue her. Molly warns him that if he comes any closer, he'll slit Liu Xue's throat, keeping him at bay with an unhinged glare. At that moment, Molly confesses to his crime against his father, and the harsh reality leaves Xingchen shocked and breathless. Every second becomes more dangerous, but to everyone's relief, the police arrive shortly after. Although both are injured, they manage to survive this terrifying ordeal. A cycle of violence is then closed, but the wound remains raw. Now, without much more context, the drama takes them to their wedding day. They run to embrace each other at the edge of the beach, bathed by the wind and the sound of the sea. Amid work conflicts, jealousy, past traumas, and unexpected dangers, they discover that love is not just passion or attraction, but genuine unconditional support, personal growth, and the courage to face their own shadows and those of others. The calm of the horizon promises a future they will have to build step by step with lots of love. And well, this story doesn't have to end here. You can start any of these summaries and enjoy them as much as you like.